So BTC is floating around 68K, but all the attention is on ETH at the moment. We got this ETF news coming later on today. Is it going to be delayed? Are they going to approve it? What is the story? We've also just had a massive meltdown in the markets today as well. We had some big sellers, and any leverage traders are getting chopped around. So today, I'm going to give you the ETH situation. I'm going to show you a potential short that could play out with ETH if we do get an approval and we pump into that. I'm going to give you that setup. Then I've got 5 altcoin setups that could be playing out for you. We are drifting into some nice potential entry zones here for you guys. So we got a lot to talk about. And this is a massive day in crypto. Let's see what is going to happen now. Mixed bag from Banter Bubbles here. We can see like WIF is down 9%, but Bonk is up 8%. What is going on here? ARB is pushing a little bit on some ETH strength. Ethereum Classic coming alive again. Remember these ETH plays on ETH strength. And let's not forget yesterday, we had a typical sell the news event on things like Render when that NVIDIA earnings came out, and they blew it. They actually did really well. They produced great results, and we saw these AI tokens pumping into the news. And then the minute the news came out, they started selling off. So we're going to update you guys on Render as well. We're going to update you on 2 other AI tokens that we looked at yesterday too. So if you are in those positions, I'm going to give you those levels that you can work with. I'm going to give you those areas that you can play around with. Okay, BTC, what is going on? And right now, just testing a 618. So nothing too serious at the moment. And I was telling the Sniper Club guys earlier on today, we are in a clear downtrend now on the 4-hour on BTC. And until we start breaking this trend, we need to remain a little bit cautious, especially as far as BTC is concerned. So you can see we're pinging this downtrend really nicely at the moment. And every time we pushed up, we just get a little rejection down. So right now, BTC is trying to reclaim the 68,300 level. This is a huge zone now that we want to just pick up. We want to just push a little bit higher here and grab the 68,300. That's going to be a big one for us. That could start a little bullish move here, and then a possible trend break for us, and then maybe a little bit of a push into this potential news coming out in a few hours' time. I'm going to show you the exact time as well that they are going to give us. Then a little bit lower down, let's say we have another meltdown here and the market wants to sweat a little bit more. What is my next big area? Well, the big one that I've got my eyes on at the moment has to be the 66K level. And you can see I've got a nice big 382 pool here, and I've got some horizontals in play. So that is my next big area of interest. But again, we're watching this downtrend. So we could easily just see a little move like that into this downtrend. We could also look for something along those lines. But again, all the focus now is on ETH. What is going to happen later? I'm dying to know what you guys are thinking in the chats. I am running a poll for you at the moment in the show description there. So go in and just fill out the poll. I just want to get the sentiment here. And we had a very similar situation on the 11th of January. And well, I asked you a similar question about BTC when we were getting the BTC ETF approval, and about 85% were confident that BTC was absolutely going to rip, and that thing ended up dumping. So today I see 67% of you are bullish on ETH, pushing now on an ETF approval. So we're going to see what's happening. But the last time the sentiment was way too bullish, and we got a big pullback. So I'm going to give you some details on that in a minute. And if you are wondering what happened today, so if you were sitting in leverage trades or in various positions, you noticed the market was really doing well. Things were pumping. But this company here, Symbolic Capital Partners, it turns out they sold 6,900 ETH in 1 minute. I mean, who does that? Who behaves like that? And it was 27 million worth of selling. And it says here in one transaction, they sold 3,500 ETH. And the fee was 90 ETH. I mean, who behaves in such savagery manner to market sell in these type of conditions? So very interesting times, and we expected some volatility, but I mean, that is a little bit wild. And then just as far as ETF inflows are concerned, we are still strong, and things are looking good. So 154 million positive. You will remember we had when we had that string of negative days, Bitcoin was really feeling the heat. So as long as we're positive here, that seems to hold things up quite nicely. And things are nice and stable in general in the market with BTC. So, and for those of you asking, what is Fit 21? It's not an aerobics class. It's actually well, it's not a law yet, but this was passed in the Senate. And basically what Jesse Pollack is explaining, the takeaway of this thing, he's saying the global economy will be built on chain. Americans will be at the forefront of its creation. It will be accessible to everyone, everywhere. Basically, it's bullish for crypto. And the Democrats are now also getting involved in crypto with all the Trump hype and all these things. And he's accepting crypto. Now the Democrats have to do something. So just remember, this isn't law yet. It's just been passed. The vote has been passed. So it is a bullish stepping stone here for crypto as a whole, but it's not law yet. So just be patient there on that one. And then James 𝗟𝗓𝗓𝗓 or 𝗟𝗓𝗓𝗓. Somebody asked me in the chats, did I call him James 𝗟𝗓𝗓𝗓 or something? But James 𝗟𝗓𝗓𝗓, it says here's a list of all the entrants. So just a reminder, these are the final deadlines for the ETFs, and these are your final end dates. And you can see the deepest dates that we go, they send us back to August. Okay, so let's say today we don't get an approval, this thing gets delayed. And I think it's inevitable then that if we do get a delay now, the worst case scenario is going to be an approval with this BlackRock situation sometime in August. So that could also be quite a bullish situation for us. If we get a delay now, we might feel some short-term pain, but I think long-term it's going to give us great entries in the market. And in spite of the pain we might be feeling, and then we can ride this situation into a potential approval in August. So it just extends the narrative, it extends the potential trade available for everybody there. So nothing to panic about if it is delayed. I think it is inevitable at the end of the day. And Marty Party says bettors are saying 69% of ETH ETF by May 31st. Okay, so there's a lot of confidence in this thing happening now in the next couple of days. Now, NVIDIA last night, what happened? So a lot of questions we're getting asked. NVIDIA was a big player for the S&P yesterday. It's a big player for crypto confidence and all those things. And luckily, they produced massive results. And I think the most obvious trade in crypto has been for the last 2 weeks, where we've been trading these AI tokens into NVIDIA earnings. So I think it was inevitable that some of the guys started taking profit and selling the news. And, they'd eventually priced render into a super bullish NVIDIA earnings. And you can see what they did here. They did record Q1 2024 revenue of 26 billion. Okay, up 260% year over year. And the earnings per share up 560%. This company is absolutely killing it out there at the moment. And AI is definitely the place to be. So we're going to update some of your AI tokens as well for you shortly. And if anybody was trying to short NVIDIA yesterday, I told you about this situation. I said if these results come out bullish, this thing is going to absolutely gap up. And if you are trying to short this thing, or we're trying to short this thing on leverage, you might be changing your underpants at the moment, because you've been absolutely rinsed out here on NVIDIA. So the best trade here yesterday, and I was telling you guys, the best trade was probably do nothing and wait for this thing to decide what it's going to be. But this is an absolute rocket ship here. And look, at some point, we're going to get this gap filled, or we could expect to see this gap filled. So at some point, we'll get a visit back to the 960 level. But right now, NVIDIA is firing on all cylinders and looking super bullish. So if you're still holding your longs, nothing you have to worry about there. And let that thing keep firing. And it's helped the S&P nicely. So the S&P also at all-time highs here and cooking well. We've got nice support on the S&P. S&P traders 5,260. That's a big number now for you. That is a big support number there that you can pay attention to. And 𝗘𝗓𝗓73 says he's uber wrecked. Oh, he's talking about the shorters. Is anyone here in the chats? Did anybody try and short NVIDIA at that major resistance? I'd love to know. I see Nabin says he wore his undies inside out. And Zhao said he did try to pull a move there. He said he lost 1K on NVIDIA. Look, it's a dangerous game. If you're trying to short earnings, these things come out after market. So there's nothing you can really do. You can't even manage your trade. If you've plugged that thing in and they come in and it goes against you, you get those gaps all over your stops. You're going to get hammered. And I see Evan says he's closed all his longs. He's awaiting an ETF dump. And Lola says round trip the render gains. Stopped out of yesterday's INJ trade. So I think, yes, I got stopped out of that INJ trade as well. It held on really well, considering what the market was doing. And then eventually it just had to capitulate there. And I got stopped out on that one too. We will cover that one shortly. Okay, what is very interesting here for me is dominance on the weekly. So this is the moment, or the time we've been waiting for. We've been looking to see dominance put pressure on this major trend for a very long time now. And this is, we're at a cusp now of a major move. Are we going to get a vicious bounce now on dominance dominance, and are they going to send us back up, or is this now the trigger for this major alt move that we could be expecting? And it's teeing up really nicely, considering the current situation. We might have some kind of approval here, and the altcoin market could start absolutely cooking. So we could see this trend get lost on the weekly, which is huge, and we could start seeing a massive move now on some of these altcoins. So eyes on this dominance here. If this trend starts getting lost, we're going to start a new trend, and it's going to be a downtrend on dominance, and that is when the fun is going to really start cooking for us. Okay, what is my plan now? What are we doing with this ETH situation? So I'm currently long ETH at the moment. Okay, I'm expecting some kind of pump here. If we're going to get an approval, number one, we're going to get a pump into this news. I expect people to start pushing ETH, buying ETH just in case. And option one is if we repeat, or if history repeats itself or rhymes, we might see a mega dump on ETH when we do get the news that it is going to be approved, and we might see a mega dump on ETH when they delay it, or if they decide to delay the situation. So it sounds like a current sell the news event, regardless of what the news is, but I stand to be corrected. But we saw this play out with BTC, and I wanted to show you what happened here, just to remind you guys. And Ray and I actually ran a poll on the day. This was on the 11th of January, and 85% of you were saying, no, we're super bullish and we're going to send this thing. And Ray and I shorted this thing live on the 11th of January, and we caught that move. I didn't catch the full move on BTC, but we caught a little short there, and we were expecting some kind of move. So this was the 11th of January play that they gave us. It was a 20% dump on BTC. Now, I don't want to say dump. Let's call it a 20% bleed out, because it took approximately a week for this to play out, and then people got their new entries, and then they started firing this thing up. So eyes on this at the moment. There could be some interesting things at play here. Let's look at ETH as well. Same situation. So this was ETH on the 11th of January when we had the Bitcoin approval. Also a 20% move to the downside. So it obviously played the game with BTC at the time. Now, what do we do? Okay, if ETH starts pumping into the news. Okay, let's say we start pumping, and just like BTC, they release the news, then there's a little 5 or 6% pump. Are you going to be able to look for a short? Well, I'm going to tell you what you can do. If you're brave enough to play the game, you can join me. If we get a move into this region, this is my current plan that I'm looking at now on ETH. Let's say we start pushing higher into this region now. We're leading into the news. We're floating around somewhere in this area. They announce that the ETH ETF is going to get approved. What I expect to happen here is quite a hard pump on ETH, and I think it will be very quick and very fast, a super fast pump, and there's going to be a lot of late longers coming in there, and then I would expect a fake out over these highs, some kind of push just through that region, and then we're going to look to sell this thing. And if history is going to repeat itself, or if history is going to rhyme, we could potentially see a bleed out on ETH for, say, 5 days, for 10 days, while the market just digests the whole situation. And if we look at the last move on ETH was 20% on ETF. The last move on Bitcoin was also 20%. If we take a 20% move down from ETH, that takes us to bang on the 618 and this 50-day MA that you can see currently sitting in this region around about 3,200. So just something interesting for you guys to think about, just something to consider here. If you are leverage trading, for example, and you're not in a position now, and ETH starts pumping, pushing into these all-time highs, just remember, looking back in time and history, what they've told us, if you start longing into this region here at these highs here at 4,100, you might be looking for a bit of trouble, because a lot of guys are going to be taking profits. They're going to be exiting some of their leverage traders. Now remember, investors, they don't matter. They're buying the long-term play. So if you get an announcement that there's an approval on the ETH ETF, the investors are just going to buy spot. They're taking a 2-year or 5-year view. It doesn't really phase them, but it's the degens. It's the guys trading 20x, 30x, 50x leverage that are going to be trying to long this move, that are going to get rinsed out in a scenario like that. So that is my current game plan. That is my current strategy. Let me know in the chat if you are joining me. Ray, are you in, bro? Are you joining me?
I'm in, but can the likes be in too? Can we have the likes and I'll be in too?
Okay, so Ray's going to join us. Guys, if you're enjoying the content, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and hit the notification button so you get notified when we are coming online. Okay, so that is my current plan. Let me know if you're keen. Let me know if I'm crazy. But if history repeats itself, I think we're going to get a little move here and a potential short. I see Peter says he is long. Let's see. Michelle says she's in. Michelle, it's good to have you back in the chats. I haven't seen you for a while. Good to have Michelle here. Let's see. Zaha says he's that degen. Yeah, he's the man trading 50x leverage here on ETH. I must say, I do dip my toes on occasion. You might have noticed. Let's see what else. Who else is hanging here in the chats with us? Remember, guys, I've got 5 setups for you that could be playing out on any weakness now in the market. Seth says I don't short anything. Look, it's very tricky to start shorting these bull markets. Just remember, if you're trying to take shorts, make sure you have clear exit strategies. Make sure your stops are in play, and always just watch the reaction when you get that push into a zone like that. Just make sure you're watching the reaction. You want to be dialing in onto those 15-minute candles. You want to see a nice big sell candle there on that 15. That could trigger a potential move for you guys. So just look out for that potential play. I see Andy says he's in, and who else is Lock says what time is it, and Dave says he's long and short. Guys, okay, we'll see how it plays out. Okay, ETH versus BTC, this has been a big one. Now this is obviously ETH strength versus Bitcoin, and this is really playing out to perfection. You guys must be sick and tired of hearing me say this is playing out to perfection, but it really is at the moment. Look at this. We had our 618 bounce off the major trend, and that was the signal that we were potentially going to get an ETH bounce here. And now the big move that we are waiting for now on ETH versus BTC is this clear trend break. You're going to see something interesting now. When we blow this trend, are we going to blow this trend at the same time that dominance loses this trend? Are we going to have this tie-in? Is it going to be an absolute thing of beauty here that is going to trigger these altcoins and send this market? So watch these two together. We got dominance on support. We got ETH BTC at resistance. They can both reverse now at the same time and completely rinse all the leverage longers, or they can start breaking now and absolutely send us. And Mark says when Lambo, and I suggest possible Lambos here when we get these breakdowns of dominance and this break up on ETH BTC. So something to watch tonight, something to be incredibly excited about if it's going to work. And another one, a nice comparative one as well, is Sol versus ETH. And Sol versus ETH, interestingly enough, is now in a bounce zone. Okay, so this is telling us we could see a potential time here where Solana starts keeping up with ETH or showing a little bit more strength against Ethereum unless it starts losing this major trend. And you can see now we've got ETH breaking trend or trying to break trend, ETH BTC, and we've got Sol versus ETH potentially losing a trend. We've got dominance potentially losing a trend. There's a lot of dynamics happening here at the moment in the market. So very interesting times, and they're all tying in very nicely together. So a lot going on, guys. Watch these levels, watch these charts. I see the legend also just jumped in. There's the legend. We'll catch you now. We'll catch you now. He's having breakfast. The man's been up. It's very early there in the morning. And I see Mateus said he's long RUNE off the bounce. I've got a RUNE update for you. I think RUNE is in quite a good area as well. So we're going to look at that one shortly. Guys, just on another note, don't forget, you have 7 days left, literally 7 days left. It's never going to happen again. Okay, there's 15 million gummy airdrop getting to anybody who is using the link in the description for Bybit. It's so simple. If you want free money, okay, they're sending you free gummy airdrops. All you need to do, click on the link in the show description here below, and you can see here it is let's find it right at the top of the list. Okay, so go into the description at the top of the list here, take a look, Bybit, click that link, sign up to that link. All you need to do is deposit $100, trade $500. They will give you $100 and your account will participate in the gummy airdrop. And right now the value of gummy is something like $1.5 or $2 million worth of gummy is going to get airdropped to all the people that have signed up to the link. So if you want free money, that's all you have to do. Sign up on this link and get your gummy, get your free gummy. It's never going to happen again. You've got 7 days left to take advantage of this. The clock is ticking. It's in your face, ticking. Okay, let's update tokens before I give you these 5 setups that are busy brewing at the moment. And number one is Render. So let's just talk about the story. What happened yesterday? So we knew this trade was on from the beginning of April. We were talking NVIDIA earnings, all the way leading into yesterday's, what do we call it? The crescendo on the 22nd of May. That was yesterday on the NVIDIA earnings, and just a classic scenario of selling the news. So we had render strength the whole month of May and a 73% move. Okay, so that makes perfect sense that those that were long the render trade into NVIDIA earnings were going to take some profit and things were potentially going to start pulling back. So what did they do? They gave us a fake out into these highs. Okay, now remember, this is the same thing I'm looking at on this ETH trade. Just want to remind you guys again, a little fake out through those highs and then a little rejection. So look out for that. And this is what they did to us last night. A little fake out into those highs and the little rejection. So now what do you do with render? How are you going to play this? So if you are sitting in render and you are long-term bullish on the market and all these types of things, you're holding spot, there's nothing you need to do right now. If you are holding a very high leverage trade, well, I would say to you, you need to watch a couple of key levels now. So number one, we do have a potential double top playing out here on render. That is potentially a bearish sign. Does that mean the whole move plays out? Not necessarily, but it does tell us it's time for a breather now. It's time for this thing to sell off a little bit and, collect some more buyers lower down. So number one, your main zone you're going to watch here is this 9.8 level. So watch 9.8. You can see what's going on here. We've got horizontal support in play, but now we've knocked on this door multiple times. And often when you knock on these doors multiple times, eventually these doors break. They start cracking open. So just watch out here on render. Level number one is going to be 9.8 to 9.9. Okay, then your next big zone for render where you can maybe collect a little bit here, 9.3. You can see why I like this 9.3. It's the 50-day moving average, and it's also a nice little horizontal band. So you should get some kind of reaction here. You should get some kind of bounce at this area. So the scalpers, that's a little zone that you're going to pay attention to. And then a little bit lower down, we're looking at the 618 at 8.7. So this is another nice big area for render. And what can this potentially look like? Well, let me just draw you a little picture. We could be in a downtrend now on render for the next sort of short term. So we could easily see something along these lines, little reactions in these zones until we eventually go and break that trend. So look out for something like this now on render. Look how it's going to play out. But as always, watch your main levels. If you're trading high leverage and you start losing a key level, okay, you need to zoom out, try and assess, can your trade sweat it out to the next level? Maybe you want to be looking to cut. And if you are trading very low leverage, maybe you want to build a position. If you are bullish over the next couple of months, then maybe you can start adding and building something of size there for you. But these are your big levels you want to watch now on render. Then some interesting news on EOS, another AI token we've spoken about a couple of times. Now they've become the first DePIN company listed on NVIDIA Accelerated Applications Catalog. Basically, NVIDIA says EOS is cool. Okay, so that's now, they got a stamp of approval now on NVIDIA. And EOS, again, you don't want to fade the current situation. And Michael's asking for 𝗃𝗃. I actually closed that window, but we can potentially get 𝗃𝗃 up. But remember, Michael, there's a nice level trading on 𝗃𝗃. We're going to deal with that just now. But 𝗃𝗃's got a nice thick band there, a nice thick horizontal band that you can look at. Okay, back to EOS. Let's just look at our levels now. So NVIDIA is basically giving their stamp of approval on EOS. And NVIDIA is obviously the AI company that everyone is interested in. So what do we do? How do we fade this? How do we trade this? What is the plan? Well, EOS, you can see what's going on here. We just want to watch key levels here. So this is obviously a long-term investment type token here that you want a piece of. If NVIDIA is getting involved in all these things, there's obviously some strong fundamentals behind the situation. So what I would say here, EOS traders or EOS holders, your main level that you want to pay attention to, 0.766. Okay, watch this zone. You can see we've got a nice flat 50-day moving average. I've got a nice 382, and I've got nice horizontals here for you. So a nice juicy zone, nothing to worry about here, nothing to do until we start losing that 50-day MA. Then maybe you can look at start trimming things. But right now, very big level here for you for EOS. And how do we play the next move if it does want to push higher? Well, you can see we've got some horizontals at play here, and we are busy dancing around this area. So the minute we can get a little bit more traction above these highs, then you could maybe start counting that as your next support base for your next big move up. But right now, just let it settle around, let it dance around in this area for a little bit. And we're going to see how it's going to play out. Okay, what else is going on here? Let's see. I see Derek's asking for Beam, and Popcat is Shopnell wants some Popcat whiff. I think I do have a little bit of whiffness. No, I've got PEPE for you, but we can look at whiff when I get to the PEPE trade. I think I'll bring up the whiff one as well. Alex says he's bullish. He's very bullish. Let's see what else we got. We got Pyth questions, guys. Remember, this is a very simple play. If you're asking for all these charts, there's another way you can can get all these charts from me. You can join the Sniper Club. It's that simple. Every single day, I update my personal watch list. 25 to 30 charts get dropped in the Sniper Club every day. I give you my levels. I give you my thoughts. I give you all these things on these charts, as well as market updates. And then I won't tell you all the things that are going on in Sniper Club, but it's huge. We got a massive story happening there. So if you want access to these charts, imagine waking up every day. You can get hold of my charts. You just log into Sniper Club. You can see all these charts in front of you, and you can see my plans on all of these tokens. So that is the easiest way. So you're asking me to chart them. Obviously, I'm going to chart as many as I can for you guys. But if you're short and you're looking for more, they're in the Sniper Club there for you daily. I'm updating them. Okay, another nice AI play is Near. We touched on this one yesterday. And just an interesting note here, this gnarly soul says, why has Near shown excellent and consistent daily activity in the past few weeks? Well, basically, Near has got the #1 daily active addresses relative to all these other coins on the list. So you can see what's going on here. It's one of the top performers. And somebody in the comments says, oh, it's probably spam transactions or something like that. But anyway, nonetheless, Near cannot be ignored as a potential AI play as well. So let's watch this Near thing closely, and let's see what is actually going on at the moment. So those of you that were trading Near, you had a small little move yesterday, and we were looking at this as a possible bounce play into Nvidia earnings, and they gave you a little bounce. It wasn't pleasant. You know, we wanted something a lot stronger and a lot bigger here, but now they've lost these lows at the moment. So what can I give you for Near? Well, #1, you want to be watching your current candle low. So if we don't recover now and we don't start pushing up now, the next level is going to be a little bit lower down. So what do I want to see now for Near? I want to see Near recover. I want to see Near hold this region and push up. So I would watch 7.45. That is your level #1 that you want to pay attention to. And then the next one where I think we will get a nice reaction here on Near, if we do get a little meltdown, 6.88. Okay, and the reason I like that is the 382, I've got the horizontals, and I've got the 50-day moving average. So any move down here into Near, we're looking for some kind of bounce in that area. It might be a bearish bounce. Okay, bear that in mind. It might be a bearish bounce, but it could be a bounce nonetheless from a nice little juicy zone there. Could give the scalpers something that they can play around with. So remember, if we start losing a trend, we often then start a new downtrend. So just like I showed you on render. So if Near doesn't bounce here, we're looking for something along these lines, and we could see this type of situation play out for Near, and we're going to ride this thing down until we eventually break a trend. Where does that happen? Well, we'll have to wait and see. But what we can do is spot our big support zones, our big reaction zones, and these are generally great buy areas as well. If you're looking for spot buys and things like that, you want to buy on weakness, but it's even better if you have an edge and you can buy it on these nice solid levels here where you know that we generally get reactions and bounces. So look out for Near. These are great areas for you. #1 support 7.44, #2 6.88. Watch that guy. And then really, if they're going to darken deadly us here, 5.9. We don't want to go there. 5.9. But if they really want to do this to us, 5.9 is your number. And let's do an update on our other AI token, 𝗕𝗬𝗕𝗓. This is TAO, and this has held really well considering the sell-off that we've had, and really starting to push some great levels here. So we've been looking at this one for a couple of days now, and we picked this one up when it broke the 200-day moving average and trend. And what we were looking for a rejection at the 50-day moving average, and they've smashed it back twice. Okay, so very notable here, this 50-day moving average coming into play twice now on TAO. What do I want to see now as a TAO trader? What do I want to see hold? Well, #1, I've got huge support now. I've got the 200-day moving average and the 382 and horizontals tied in for me at 418. Okay, so this is big level #1 that you can watch. So if you're sitting in a TAO position, 418 is a nice support level. If you start closing under 418, then it tells you a story. It starts telling you it might want to start drifting a little bit lower, and then your next target is going to be 390. Okay, so 390, if it doesn't hold 418, you're looking at 390 as your next potential play there on TAO. Watch these zones very closely. And then upside, if the market stays bullish here, and let's say we get a pleasant result here and the market doesn't sell off and kill everybody later on today, we're going to look for some bigger targets on TAO. So #1, we just want to crack these highs. You can see this is clear resistance. So #1, we just want to blow through those highs. And then those of you that have missed the move, you're going to get a second bite. You're going to get it long on any retest here off this 50-day moving average. So just be patient here. Let it pop through. And once it pops through, you can grab this thing on the retest as support. It's going to give you a nice little area that you can play around with. And then upside targets, I'd say number one is going to be in the 600, somewhere in the 600 region. That is going to be area number one. You can tie it in with some nice horizontals. So anywhere around 600. And, once we crack that zone, if things are still super bullish, then you are looking obviously at the highs, and that's going to be around 750 and those type of things. But step one, let's blow some resistance first. Step two, let's hold some support first, and let's get through this ETF situation, because still anything can happen at the current moment. Okay, who's ready for 5 signals? Ray, what's our likeage here?
Likeage is about 580.
Okay, are you happy with the likeage?
No, it could be better.
Nice dog. Whose dog is that? Okay, guys, fire up the likes. I'm going to start giving you my setups. Fire up the likes. I'm going to start giving you some of these setups that I'm watching. In case we get a little bit more weakness in the market, I think you're going to be happy with some of these setups that we can take advantage of. Number one that I want to give you here is Solana. Okay, so Sol has obviously looking to bounce versus ETH at the moment, but you can see what's going on here. Sol has broken a nice horizontal and is slowly making its way down to a potential trend line. So we do have a potential entry brewing on Solana. Let's say we do get a little pump later, but then they start sending us lower. What are we going to expect? We're looking for a move like this into the 160 region for Solana. So look out for that. That is the most obvious looking area here for me for Solana bounce on more weakness in the market. Now, we've already seen a slight bounce in the market of some horizontals. Some of them aren't high conviction bounce zones just yet. So sometimes it tells us we might get a short-term move, but then we could be looking at a deeper move later on. So higher conviction areas for me, Sol, anything around this 160 region looks pretty interesting. A little bit lower down, we got the 50-day MA as well at 154. Bringing up some added support here for you. So any move into this trend, and you can see why. If you're not a chartist or whatever, you can see why this is interesting. That would be Sol dropping into trend support, which is tied in with a horizontal support and also tied in with 382 fib support. So it's a nice juicy little area here for Sol, and it's an area that I would consider pretty strong support. So anything from 158 to 154, anywhere in that region, I'm looking for a bounce here. I'm looking for a reaction on Sol, and it could be quite a pleasant long setup for you guys. I know Mr. Sol bag holder over here is going to be all over this thing, and there he is, loving that. Approval.
Bargain basement prices on Solana work for me.
So nice little clean setup there. And these charts, remember guys, these charts are in the Sniper Club for you with some of these ideas and setups. And here's AVAX. Okay, so I was talking about this one yesterday, and I was saying I'm looking for AVAX to dip into this region. The 50-day MA and the 200-day MA looks like a hot zone here on AVAX, and lo and behold, here it is. This is our moment. It's reacting in the zone right now. Now, does that mean it's the end of the move? It doesn't exactly mean it's the end of the move, because we're going to see what the rest of the market is going to do over the next few hours. But as you can see, I love these reaction zones, and you can see AVAX is doing exactly that. It's reacting in our reaction zone. So when you hit these strong areas, I've got a 382 fib, I've got the 50-day moving average, and I've got the horizontals. I know that I'm getting a reaction here. I'm getting some kind of move in this area, and that often is going to give you a guide as to what is going to happen. And if things are melting down, these are often your areas where they put the brakes on, and you can kick back and sit back and say, okay, now I can make a decision as to what is going on. And, the last thing you want to be doing is selling before you hit these levels, because often we hit these zones and then we get these big bounces. So zone number one of interest, if you're looking for longs right now, you can see why this is interesting to me. So I've got the 200-day moving average holding up as support at 37. I've got the 50-day moving average at 37.5, and I've got these horizontals and the 382 at 37.8. So all around a nice little juicy zone. Okay, how do you play this? What is the strategy? Well, number one, if you're trading high leverage, you want to be looking at a tight little stop. And your options are either a candle close under the 50-day MA or a candle close under the 200-day moving average. So that's going to be about 2.8%, and then an upside play. So this is you making a decision now that the market digests this information on ETH quite well. Everybody is happy, and things start sending it. Okay, so that is option number one. And then option number two, the market doesn't like the news. Maybe there's a slight sell-off here, but not a major sell-off on ETH. And option number two is then going to give you a bounce in the 618 region. This is going to be around about 12.35. So these are your two main areas that you can look for potential moves now on AVAX. And both of these are bullish pullback zones. Both of these are bullish zones where you could get some kind of bounce. So watch these regions here on AVAX. And just something notable here again, and we saw that little picture on render that I showed you guys. This is quite interesting. But right now we've got a potential left shoulder. We've got a potential head. Okay, so what happens here? Let's say we get bad news now and the market bounces. Okay, we're going to look for that rejection at that next potential area. And then you've got a possible head and shoulders situation playing out. But that's for the bears. That's the bear juice. I know the bears here are salivating at this potential option. Yeah, but look at it play out. If we hit that 618, that's going to be a resistance zone then a little bit higher up that you're going to need to be watching. But we'll see. We'll play that one by ear. But right now, AVAX is in a zone. AVAX is in a bounce area here. And if you are happy with the current market situation and what's happening with ETH, then this could be a nice level that you can start playing around with for AVAX traders. Okay, another one here, CAS. And this thing's been cooking. So, you know, in spite of the sell-off that we had earlier today, CAS is holding really strong. And I just wanted to reaffirm some levels for those of you that have been trading CAS with me. Some of you have been trading CAS with Sheldon. I know Seth from 𝗟𝗟𝗙𝗚𝗚. He drops his 𝗟𝗟𝗙𝗚𝗚 setups and ideas in Sniper Club as well. So you can take advantage of those. He also gave a CAS trade recently as well. So we were all trading CAS. And right now things are looking okay for CAS. Level number one that you want to watch. So your no panic zone. Okay, you're not allowed to panic. Anything under 0.132, then you're looking for a little level down. But right now, 0.132, anything down to 0.132 is a no panic zone. You need to let it just do its absolute thing here. Maybe it wants to push down, looking for a little bounce there, something along those lines. See how that is going to play out. And then a higher conviction zone for you for CAS has got to be the 200-day moving average, the 382, the horizontals, all these things tied in together. This is a huge zone, 0.125, 0.126, that sort of area. And as you can see, I'm holding this CAS situation here on weeks. At the moment, there it is. I got stopped out of that injective trade yesterday that we took live. And here's CAS. So no changes here for me. My average entry is 0.11779 on weeks. And you can see that is still comfortably below the 200-day MA and the 50-day MA. So I've got a little bit of protection there for this CAS trade. If we get weakness onto those areas, that's where I intend to add to that position here. That's going to be a buy zone for me where I'm going to add to the position. Obviously, we don't want to be too bearish here. If things are going to stay relatively bullish, we want to clip any sort of pullbacks onto these type of zones and then take advantage of that. So that is my current strategy. If you want to trade with me on weeks, it's a very simple plan. All you need to do is go to the link in the description. There's my weeks link. There's an exclusive offer only for the show. Okay, it's a 20% sign-up bonus available for you on weeks. That is available now. There's a limited time on this campaign. They are growing the exchange very fast. They're not going to leave this around for too long. So click on the link below. It says Dylan Campaign Weeks. Take advantage of a 20% sign-up bonus. Trade on weeks with me, and let's get cracking there. Okay. Another setup for you guys, Phantom, also looking good here. And this is going to take a little bit of a bleed out on the market. We're still waiting, but a potential bounce zone coming here, 0.758 is a potential area of interest. Look for these horizontals, and you can see what I've done here. I've got a little 618 in play at the moment. I've got a 50-day moving average, and I've got these horizontals. So things are looking nice and juicy here for potential Phantom move. Look, the last time we hit that zone, we had a strong bounce in that area when it was support previously. So great little zone here, 0.758. Anywhere in that region could give you a nice little Phantom bounce. If you lose that zone, what do you do? Well, if you lose that area, your next reasonable support, your next reasonable bounce zone has got to be these lows a little bit lower down at 0.633. So that could be your next potential trade, your next potential bounce zone. If you don't get that bounce now off that region, that is your next potential level. But Franco says, when do we get the news? Let's see, we get the news at 8:30 p.m. UTC. Okay, so Marty Party says, ETF update, SEC expected to announce decision. 8:30 p.m. UTC. That is what we're waiting for, and it's going to be a late night for me. It looks like based on the current situation, might have to take this Mac home. We're going to have to do a little bit of trading in the next few hours. Okay, we're going to have to, bro. Are we hitting the bull? We'll see. Okay, phantom traders, there's a little setup for you guys. Okay, so moderate weakness onto nice horizontal support will give you something. And if not, if the market really wants to crush your souls, your next level 0.64. That is your next potential bounce zone where you want to play around on phantom. Anywhere in between that is a no trade zone. For me, I'll just leave that thing. It must either reclaim levels or it must drop lower down. Not interested in the middle. I just want it lower down or potentially higher up. And one more note for you, those of you that don't use fibs, look at the 618. Look at this rejection on phantom. That is an absolute thing of beauty. Fibs coming into play once again. If you don't know what fibs are, you want to learn about it, hang out with Sniper Club. The legend there in the back will also show you what's going on there. Come and see what we are doing there. Okay, another banger here for you guys. And a similar situation to AVAX, funnily enough. We've got RUNE now sitting on key support. Why is this key support? I've got a rising trend for you. I've got horizontals. I've got a 382 fib. I've got the 50-day moving average, and I've got the 200-day moving average. So we know, balance of probabilities, this is quite a strong zone. This is an area where we get a bounce after a bleed out and things like that. Obviously, conditions today are a little bit different, but anything could be happening. But this is a potential bounce area that you want to be watching for RUNE, and a very similar look to that AVAX chart that I just showed you, which is a little bit interesting. So we've got a potential left shoulder. We've got a potential head. And what happens if we get a meltdown into our next potential zone where we're going to bounce next? We're looking at something like that. So that could be an interesting play as well for the bears. So there's a little bit of bear sauce there as well. I didn't intentionally mean to come out with all these bearish setups for you guys today. But, the charts don't lie. The charts tell us a story. And if we don't get this bounce here, we are potentially then looking at a bearish period. And is that going to tie in with an ETF delay? Potentially, is that going to send us to the dullies for the next 3 weeks, for the next 6 weeks? Are we going to get these bearish setups playing out? So time is going to tell. We're going to know in a few hours' time. We must just be prepared, be ready for all situations here. But number one, bounce zone number one for me, RUNE. All systems go on a good, fair result here. We're looking for that bounce on RUNE. Lose that area, we're turning bearish for, I wouldn't say long term, we're turning bearish short term. Okay, here's PEPE, and then we're going to hit you with WIF as well after that. And PEPE, you guys know I closed my PEPE long a little bit early, and we had a 40% move after that last dump, and I closed it round about in that region, and it's carried on. It actually hit our 1.618 target. That was our fib target that we put together there for PEPE. And now for me, there's no trade for me just yet. I'm going to let this thing just play out. I'm going to let this thing do what it needs to do. Can it potentially go back down here? Yes. Of course it can. So, I mean, look, mark that level 0.0011. Watch that zone. That could be an interesting zone for you. But ideally, what do the bulls want to see? You just want to see a nice bit of consolidation here. You want to see something just happening in this region. Let these stocks reset. Let time play out a little bit. And then you can look for a nice little bullish move there on PEPE. So that is a potential setup that you need to just be a little bit patient on. If you're an absolute degen leverage scalper, well, you know what you're doing. You on the 15-minute candles doing those things, and you're looking for flags like that on those time frames. So you can, at your leisure, get involved in that stuff. But look out for that consolidation in those zones. Once we start cracking, the story, all-time high, price discovery, and then things start really flying there for us. Okay, let's look at the current WIF situation. So I longed WIF earlier today, and I got stopped out on this WIF position, and you can see what's going on here. This was my original stop level that I was looking at, and funnily enough, this candle is now back above the stop loss. So if you follow the system where you wait for candles to close, you would still be in a potential WIF long. I had a hard stop. I wasn't at my computer, and it stopped me out in that region. So we need to just let this now play out a little bit. But WIF traders, what we can see, what are we looking for? Well, number one, you can see we've got a nice trend in play here, and this trend so far is holding as resistance. So a little fake out there, and they've sent it lower. So what is the strategy? What do we do now? Well, we need to break the 50-day moving average. We need to break some big resistance here. Once we've broken that again, we can have another crack at this WIF situation. So in front of you, I'm just going to zoom in here, WIF traders. You can see we've got the 50-day moving average here clearly in front of you. We want to blow that area. When we turn that into support, that's going to give the WIF bulls something to work with. Is that going to work nicely with potential soul bounce versus ETH? Is it going to work nicely with a potential SOL pump? We're going to have to wait and see how that plays out. But remember, bullish SOL should give you bullish WIF. It should give you bullish MIRO, bullish bonk, and all those types of things. Right, that was a great comment there from Antonio. Says down is good for shopping. Guys, remember, if this ETF gets delayed, it's not necessarily a bad thing. If we get a 20% meltdown on ETH, short-term pain. I think long-term, you're going to really feel the benefits of some kind of flush out before this all happens. If we do get an ETF approval and there is a flush out, that flush out is for buying. Okay, 100%. You want to be buying any flush out that they give you on an ETF approval. If they give you 10%, you take it. If they give you 15%, you take it. Make sure you're buying those flush outs, because I think the market after that is going to start really jumping into this ETH situation, and we're going to see some big moves. So if you're in leverage tonight, leading into the decision, stop losses, be super careful with what you're doing. Don't bet your whole accounts on these things, because the moves can be pretty intense as to what could be happening here. So play it safe. Please don't over leverage. And we're gonna sweat this all out tomorrow. It's going to be a great day tomorrow, following up on all this news. So we'll see you guys later.